All right, welcome back to MetFlex and Chill. This is your host, Rachel Gregory, and I'm here with one of my MetFlex Tribe members, Kristin. What's up, Kristin?
Hey Rachel, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me on the show today.
Yeah, I'm super excited you're here. I'm excited for all of our listeners to hear your story. So do you want to, before we get started, I'm going to kind of grill you with some questions today. But before we get into those, do you want to just give a little bit of an intro? Just tell our listeners, who you are, what you do for a living, just a little background.
Sure, definitely. So hey guys, my name's Kristin Andel. I live in North Kingstown, Rhode Island. And I am a landscape architect and development planner. That's what I do for a living. And also live at home with my husband and our 4 animals. So I'm super excited to be here.
Oh, nice. So I knew you had dogs. You had 4. What animals do you have?
Yeah, I have 2 dogs and 2 cats.
2 dogs and 2 cats. Okay, cool.
So yeah, we just got Penny back in September. So she's still really young. She's only like 8 months old. So she's like kind of a maniac, but it's
Oh,
so
wow.
fun.
What kind of dogs?
I have 2 rescues. So Peanut is a Chiweenie. We actually rescued her from a kill shelter in Santa Monica. And then we have Boone. So he's from Arkansas, and he's like a Beagle Dachshund Catahoula mix. We don't, well, actually, we got his DNA tested when we first got him, and like, I don't know how much I believe it because it came back that he was part pug. And if you saw him, you'd be like, what? No, he's not. So
Huh.
anyway, they're both amazing.
Oh, I've been like back and forth the past, I don't even know, 6 months deciding whether or not I want to get a dog, and I just haven't yet. I've been looking like in to rescue and stuff, but I want like a smaller dog, and it's harder to find like smaller dogs, I guess at least where I am and where I've been looking. So anyway, I don't want to talk all about dogs, but I am super jealous
Yeah,
of your fur babies. So
you should do it.
I,
Yeah,
I will
just go for
eventually.
it.
Eventually, I
Yeah,
will. Within like the next year, I think. Hopefully.
yeah.
We'll see. All right, so I do have some questions for you. And before we get started, like diving into some of those questions also, I just want to kind of get an idea of like where you kind of found a low carb lifestyle or keto lifestyle, if you want to call it, and like what first got you interested in it.
Sure. So I have been doing low carb lifestyle since July of 2018. And really, it just started when my husband asked me if I wanted to try this diet called keto. So he had a friend who had like amazing results doing keto. He lost like over 100 pounds and felt amazing. And he said, you get to eat like a king, right? So when I heard
Mhm.
that, I was like, sure, like I can try this. Like, let's do this. And so that's sort of how it started. And prior to that, I've always been pretty athletic. Done a lot of like stand-up paddleboard races and been doing like pole fitness for like over 5 years and doing 5Ks and lifting at the gym and doing all these things. And I wasn't really ever seeing like the results that I wanted. So prior to low carb, I was eating, I didn't really eat like that much meat, definitely not a lot of red meat. I did a lot of like soy, cheese, and fake meat and rice and, oatmeal, a lot of things that like I thought were healthy, you know?
Mhm.
And wanted to look more toned, like look like I worked out as much as I did. And, I didn't. And every now and then I would like do a cleanse or do some kind of reset. And so I kind of did that for like years, but every year it was like, I would just gain a little bit more weight. And,
Mhm.
everyone around me is saying, oh, well, that's what happens. Like every year you gain 5 pounds or whatever the saying is.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking like, well, that's weird. And I don't want that. I don't like, if that's the rate I'm going, then, it's not going to be good in like 10 years from now. Right.
Mhm.
So anyway, yeah, John was like, do you want to try this? And I said, sure. And, the rest is kind of history. So it's almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in July that we've been doing keto, and it was really it's awesome now, but it was amazing in the beginning, right? Like I was eating all this amazing keto food and bacon and eggs and burgers and like all these things, and like the weight was just like melting off, and I was like, oh my god, like I'm eating all this stuff and I'm getting smaller, like what's happening? So that was really cool. And my energy was increasing, and that was the other thing too, like before going low carb, like I was, not that I was tired all the time, but like I definitely hit that like 2 o'clock wall every day, and I was like, okay, I need my cup of coffee or my pre-workout or whatever. And it was like I was like living off that stuff. And so once I started keto, like I noticed like I didn't need that anymore. Like I would just wake up in the morning and be like, all right, it's go time. Like, what are we doing? Like I just had this energy, and it was cool. And then there were a lot of other great things too, like just the mental clarity and the motivation and like the confidence and like all that stuff that kind of comes with keto. And one of the first things, like the first time that I like really saw the benefit, like in like my training wise, was I think I told you about this. We did a race around the Statue of Liberty. And, so it was a 6-mile stand-up paddleboard race. So we drove down there, like from, Rhode Island to New York, like strapped the boards. It's like a 12.5-foot board, like on top of the car. And so we drive into the city, and it was like, once we got to like downtown, like in New York, it was, I don't want to say a disaster, but it was like a little bit of a disaster trying to find parking, like with the boards on the car. Because like a lot of the hotels were like, no, you can't park your car here. So anyway, eventually we found a spot and it was all good. But on race day, I just had Bulletproof Coffee, and I was like, all right, well, here we go. Let's see what happens. And like, I felt so good the entire time. Like it was really, really hard. There was a lot of chop and boat traffic, and it was like insane. But the whole time I'm just paddling, and I'm like, okay, my goal is to just like get to the next turn. And I never hit that wall. Like I never had that bonk that people talk about, where I didn't bring any goo, I brought water. I was like, whatever. And I finished the race, and like, I was a little bit tired, but I remember feeling like, okay, well, like now what? Like, I'm ready. Like, let's go again. Right. And so that's when I was like, wow, like this is amazing. So that was maybe like 4 months into my low carb life. And then another thing was when I had done a couple of pole fitness competitions. And so I did one, this was in November, so like a month later. And the story that I told was like, all about like transformation. So it was like very, very personal to me. And I was like, so into it. But I noticed the same kind of thing where going into competition, like I didn't worry about, oh, what am I going to eat? Cause your show time is whatever time. I think it was like later in the day. So I didn't really worry about, well, I got to eat at this time. And, my nerves were not what they had been in previous competitions. So I was a little bit nervous, but there was just this like sense of some kind of clarity, and then when it was my turn to go, the same thing. It was like the music came on, and I was just like, here we go. Like, I'm just going to own this and have fun. And it was amazing. So that was like the first, my first like 6 months of keto. I was like, yes. But then like after that, like I would say come like January-ish of that year. So like about 6 months in, I started noticing some things that were not so good. Like my sleep started to kind of suck, and my hair was like falling out. My skin was really dry. So there were all these things happening, and I felt like it was kind of backfiring on me. I was like, oh my God, like it was too good to be true. And And so that's when I started doing my own research and trying to figure out, well, what's going on? Why is this happening? Because my husband is over there continuing to lose weight and feel amazing. And I'm just like, what's going on? This is not fair.
You're not alone in that.
So as I was doing all this research, it was just overwhelming. Like, as you know, there's like tons of information out there, and I didn't really know what was right, what was wrong. Why is this happening to me? Is keto not for me? I was just really struggling and confused at that point.
I do have a quick question. Were you like tracking like your macros when you first started keto, or were you just kind of eating, quote unquote low carb keto foods?
No, I was definitely tracking. So I did like an online keto, macro calculator, and I was doing like a really kind of traditional, like 75% fat, 20 protein, 5 carb, 5% carbs, whatever it was. So I was eating like under like 20 grams of net carbs. That was like my goal. And then my protein, I can't remember what it was, but I know it was super low. I mean, it was probably like whatever. I don't even know.
But low, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was low, and I was tracking my food, but I was doing net carbs, and the app that I was using also, like, it rolled in my exercise. You know what I mean? So it would like tell me that I could eat more.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
gotcha. So yeah, I mean, the reason I was just curious, because some people start, a lower carb or any diet that you start, whatever, some people are just, they track, some people don't. And the reason, because you were saying like your hair started falling out, your skin was starting to get dry, and those are a lot of signs of like protein deficiency and things like that. So that's why I was just curious if you were tracking like protein intake. But yeah, I don't want to interrupt you, but so you got to that 6-month period, and then you started doing research, and then kind of what did you find when you were doing that?
Yeah, well, I remember like finding some articles and blogs about, protein intake, or maybe you're just not eating enough in general. And so that's when I started to try to tweak my own macros, but I was kind of in a mindset back then that like protein might like kick me out of ketosis or not, or turn into carbs. Is it gluconeogenesis or whatever?
Gluconeogenesis, yeah.
Yes, okay. I'm saying it all wrong, but
it's a hard word. I barely ever say it right.
Like, I definitely was afraid or thought that would be a thing, right? So I didn't want to eat too much protein, and I also was like deathly afraid of having too many carbs, because I was still, even though all these things were happening, my energy level was still like pretty good. I still was like very focused, and I feel like that was the thing that I didn't want to lose the most. Weight loss at that point, I was like, yeah, this is cool. But I also I just really, really liked the mental clarity that was going on. And so I was really afraid of not being in ketosis and eating carbs and also like putting the weight back on too. Like I was just nervous about that. And so, and I don't think I probably didn't mention either that like my cycle had gone away like completely. Right.
Okay.
So that was another thing where I was, in the beginning, I was like, oh, whatever, no big deal. But then like as the months went on, I was like, well, this probably isn't good. Yeah. So I ended up seeing a bunch of different doctors, and their response was, well, you just need to put some weight on, which I didn't really like that answer either. Right. And, so it was frustrating. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll try to put a little bit of weight on. And so that's when I started like just eating more calories, like eat more fat. And, nothing was really like working. I was just kind of like putting weight on. And so on my journey to like do research, I was listening to the Keto Savage podcast, and you were the guest. And so I'm listening to all the things that you were talking about that like you went through. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like I had all these aha moments, and I was like, I need to reach out to her. I was like, I need to work with her. Like, this is it. This is going to help me. Like, this is what I've been waiting for. And And so that's how like that whole thing happened. Like I was like, finally, like it's this like someone that gets me and that I think I can work with and is going to kind of help me like just dial in my new low carb lifestyle and like make this work for me, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I love Robert. I think I recorded a few. I wonder which episode you were listening to because I recorded a few episodes with him. Um, but yeah, it's just like literally so many of the things that you've said. It's like exactly what you said. Like I went through that myself, and so many of the women that I work with all say the same things. Not exactly the same, like everybody has kind of their own little things that are going on, but there's a lot, low protein, losing your cycle, losing your hair, all these things. There's kind of like this trend that happens. And it's usually at that kind of like 6 month mark, what you talked about, like 6 to 8 months, it's like everything's going well. For me, personally, I noticed a lot of that stuff. It might have taken a little bit longer, but it's definitely, there's a lot of other things that I experimented with before kind of coming to the conclusion that I probably needed to implement some carbs back in, and kind of pay attention to that a little bit more and not, go down the fasting rabbit hole. So a question for you, did you do a lot of fasting and intermittent fasting during?
Yeah, I really did. Like, especially, in the beginning, because I just wasn't hungry anyway. So I would like wake up, I might have, a bulletproof coffee or whatever, but then it's like I'd go to work and then like 1 or 2 o'clock would roll around and I'd be like, oh, I haven't eaten yet. I should probably eat. And I got used to that. And then I got used to like, just even like now I still like, I'm not really that hungry before like 10 o'clock, but prior to Keto for Women, like I was definitely like chronically fasting. Like that's one of the things that I think sort of sent me kind of over the deep end and just was not good for my body in the long run. I think it definitely has its place and it works for some people, but for me, what I know now, it's not something that I do very often anymore.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. And that's totally, especially for women who are leaner like yourself and don't have a lot of body fat to begin with, fasting can be something that can be too much of a stressor. And as you learned, and as we talk about all the time, in our, MetFlex group and in the Keto For Women program, that's like one of the biggest topics that a lot of people, when they come to the program, they're like, okay, now this is starting to make sense. So I guess kind of on that note, you joined the Keto For Women program. Do you want to kind of maybe give some of the main, takeaways it's a 3-month program. If people listening don't know, it's a 3-month, 12-week program but structured around really the main goal is fat loss. And it's for women who have gone keto for a long time. Maybe they had initial success, like really good success in the beginning and kind of hit this plateau point and whether it's with fat loss or with hormones or whatever it may be, and just kind of learning more background information and really becoming educated on that. So I guess maybe do you want to tell listeners a little bit about what you kind of learned for yourself throughout going through the program, maybe talk a little bit about your results, some turning points that may have, or I can't talk, aha moments that may have come to you?
Yeah, definitely. So, going into the program, I definitely had, different goals than I did coming out just because of like the world, right? So going in, definitely my goals going in were to like heal my body, heal my hormones, but also really to learn how to eat again. Cause I really felt like I didn't know what to eat or like, I just didn't know anything anymore. I felt like I had completely like fallen out of love with keto, and so for me, like one of the biggest takeaways was definitely like the educational component of it. And also the accountability. Like, I feel like those are the 2 main things for me that, I've been out of the program now for, I don't know, at least a month, right? Maybe 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's like, I still find myself like referring to either things that I learned in the program or like some things that you said that like just stick out in my mind. Like one thing that I always think of is, I think the analogy you use is like, you know, you wouldn't cancel a meeting with your boss to like, you wouldn't do that. So if I have a walk scheduled or a workout scheduled, I'm going to take it. Even if like, I feel like crap that day, or, you know, I'm busy and I want to do something else. Like I make myself do it because that has helped me like just so much, like in my just every day. You know, I make sure in the morning it's like I take a walk before I get in my car and I go to work, because even if it's super short, it's like that's for me. Like so the mindset, I guess, is also another thing. But yeah, like definitely the macro calculator too. I'm probably gonna list like every single thing like in the program, but
whatever. I mean, share, like,
yeah,
this is the point of this, is really just to like share kind of your experience, and you know, just go, you can't say anything wrong. Like you
yeah,
can give the whole program away, I don't care, whatever.
right,
As long as
right.
it's helping people.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess like going back right to the beginning when we do the metabolic reset, right? I was like, oh my God, she wants me to eat 200 carbs for 2 days. Like I'm gonna like blow up like a balloon, or like I'm not gonna be able to get out of bed. I thought I was gonna like die, you know, but like I was fine, you know what I mean? Like, and I actually, you know, I planned it out and I was like, oh my God, like what kind of carbs am I gonna eat? This is gonna be great. And it was like, I had like a sweet potato and it was like a big deal,
Yeah.
you know? But, you know, so definitely changing the way that I thought about food and carbs, and, you know, how the macro calculator worked, where it was like, instead of doing net carbs, you do total carbs. So that was a new thing for me, which I also think is really important. And I have found helps me a lot just in like continuing to adhere to this. Like the knowledge that I've gotten from the program about fibers, and how when you subtract fiber, it doesn't really necessarily mean that it's, you know, only 3 net carbs. Like it might not be, because of the way that my body breaks it down. So that's kind of was definitely an eye-opener for me. But that, and also the increased protein, like in the beginning I was like, I don't even know how I'm going to eat all this protein, you know, but now I love it. Now I'm like, all right, you know. So changing the ratios was like huge for me. Like I definitely noticed a difference like early on, you know, and I can't remember when the scale started going down. I know it was like only a couple of weeks into the program, like I broke that plateau, and I was just like, what? How is this happening? Like this is working. This is so cool, you know? And that's another thing. If we're going to like talk about the scale, then like that was super helpful, learning how the scale doesn't matter, but it kind of matters. So that was like a learning experience for me, because I also went from, when I first started keto, I mean, I was weighing myself like every day, sometimes more than once a day, because I just wanted to see what was happening. I know that might sound a little crazy, but
trust me, there's probably a lot of people listening to this who do the same thing. I mean, I did the same thing for a period of time.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not crazy.
Yeah. No. And the other part of that too is like, back then, if it went up a little bit, it would like ruin my day. I'd be like, oh God, you know, and now it's like, I'm like, whatever. Like, I know it's just, maybe it's water, maybe it's something I ate, maybe it's like time of the month, like whatever. It doesn't really matter, because now I know that it's more important to look at it over the course of the week, as opposed to the day. Yes, the weekly average. And the same thing with calorie cycling and implementing the PSMF, the protein sparing modified fast days. So when we were in the fat loss phase, those tools really, really helped me to be able to stick to the program, because I think otherwise it just would have been really kind of stressful. And it was sort of fun once I got into the mindset of like, okay, like that one day a week is going to be my refeed or my carb day. Like in the beginning it was hard, and I had to wrap my head around like all this new food. But the last couple of weeks of the program, I was like, all right, so like Saturday is going to be my carb up day, and I'm going to eat this and this and this, and like do all this planning. And not to keep rambling, but that leads into the other thing that like I absolutely loved and I still do, and that's like the meal prep. And I think I've told you this before, like meal prepping kind of really, really helped me get through this whole quarantine thing, because I mean, it was really weird in the beginning. My whole schedule got shifted. I was like, okay, great. Like I'm going to go work from home. And prior to that, I was making my lunch and bringing it in and everything. And so I was really like stressed out about, oh my God, like all these changes, you know, what's happening. But that was like one thing where I was like, you know what, I'm going to like stick to this. I'm still going to make my food. I'm going to plan it out. Cause I like doing that. I don't know, maybe that's like nerdy. I like data and numbers, and I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna make this. And it helps so much because it's like, I don't have to think about anything, especially if I'm like really good about it. I actually did this week, and like, I'm so excited. So I made my lunch Sunday, and I went and I put like my breakfast and my lunch like in my Senza app, like for Monday through Thursday. So I don't even have to like look at it, you know, unless I like have a snack or something. But like, I don't even have to go there, because I know for like those meals for these 4 days, I'm good. I'm done. I don't even have to like care.
Think about it. Yeah.
It helps a lot. It's like, I have to put the time in, you know, on whatever day, Sunday, let's just say. So that's a little bit of a commitment, but like, it's not that bad. Like I've learned now for me that it's just as easy to track and to take care of myself as it is to not do it. And I don't know if that makes sense, but
makes
like,
total sense to me.
it's literally, it's like this little tiny amount of effort to like just go into the kitchen and pull out all the stuff and start putting it in the containers, as to just being like, oh, I'll just figure it out on the fly. Like, no, I can't do it.
Yeah, because it just adds so much more stress too, especially if you have like specific goals. I mean, I say this all the time, and I don't think, like, I'm pretty sure someone could write this on my grave, because I literally say to anybody, any clients I work with, anybody at all, it's like, if you're not preparing and prepping your stuff, and like if you kind of go into the day without a plan, you're going to get more stressed out, and things are going to not go the way that you wanted them to go. And so, like you said, if you have Monday through Thursday planned out, all ready to go, that's like one kind of huge part of your day that you just don't even have to think about anymore, right? And so you can focus on all the other stuff that you want to be doing, whilst knowing and kind of having that, I don't know, that grace, or that like just knowing in the back of your head, like, okay, I know exactly what I'm going to eat. I don't even have to think about it. I know it's going to make me feel good. I know it's part of my goals and things like that. And so that's like a huge piece that I think, like, everything you've said is just like everything that I just want everybody to know and like to do, because it's just so rewarding too. And like what you said too, it's like you're building all these habits, right? So it's, you know, Sunday meal prep, maybe it takes a few hours, but you get it done and it's just done and you're set for the week. And yeah, it takes a little bit more time on Sunday or another day that you plan to do it, but it sets you up for success, right? So I think that's super important. And just everything you mentioned, like, I don't know, it just makes me so happy, because I also remember like the end of the first month, or maybe it was the second month, but you put up your progress pictures and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And like, I could see it too. And there's sometimes when I, you know, with progress pictures, sometimes you don't notice it yourself. Like I've had some clients that I've worked with, and like they, like literally anybody else who would look at the picture would see like, oh my gosh, you've made so much progress, but they can't see it themselves. So when you can actually see it yourself, it's like so exciting to me. But I remember you made a comment or something. It's like, I can literally see the differences, or it was either with the pictures or the body tape measurements. But do you remember that? Obviously.
Yeah, no, I do. And there were a couple times when, maybe it was like the scale didn't change too much, but we had to do the body tape measurements. And I remember like I had to take the measurements twice, because I was like, no way, like there's no way, like whatever, that's like an inch smaller or something.
Yeah.
but it was like real. And I was just like, this is crazy. Like I'm eating all this protein, I'm eating carbs, but it's like, I feel like my body was like happy. My body was like, okay, you can start like recomping, because it was at like a better place, I feel like, metabolically than before, when it was like I was just eating like tons of fat, and maybe I wasn't getting like enough like nutrients and things like that. So
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and there's something, sorry, I just thought about something too, because I know like towards the end of the program, and this is something I talk about all the time, and I've talked about with all of you ladies, like we can't be in a fat loss phase or in a quote unquote deficit forever, and that's something that a lot of, especially women, it's like when you're going on a diet, it's like you think that you have to, like the calories that you're consuming during that diet, like you have to continue to consume that amount, for the rest of your life, where that's not the case, right? Because when your body's in a caloric deficit, you are losing body fat, right? And so when you get to that kind of end point, which was, after the program, after the 3 months, we talk about how, or I always mention like going past that 12-week kind of dieting phase, then we kind of have to reevaluate where we are. And obviously coming to the end of the program, the point of the program, the way it's structured, is that you go into a maintenance phase, right? And so you learn how to kind of maintain where you're at, but that doesn't mean that you're consuming the same amount of calories. We're bumping those calories up to your kind of new estimated maintenance. So they should be higher, right? Because you're going to maintain. And I remember like towards the end, it was like the last 2 weeks or something, you're like, so like, I don't remember exactly what you said, but you were like, I'm ready to be out of this deficit, because you could feel it, like the energy levels are kind of plummeting, hunger starting to come up, and that's completely normal. Like that is what your body's fighting against you. Like you're in a deficit, you're in a diet, especially towards the end of the program. Like it was the last 2 weeks. Those are, go time. We were, we increased cardio, all that stuff. And that's, your body's just kind of fighting you back. And I remember you were like, I'm ready to be out of this deficit. And I was like, yeah, that's, you should be there. That shows that you are, you went through the program and you basically kind of did everything right. And you got to this point where you're like, all right, well, now I've kind of lost the body fat and I feel better and all that stuff. And it's not just about the body fat and all that, obviously, but when we're talking about that, and then you kind of come back out of the deficit and you maintain. So do you want to maybe just tell us a little bit about like kind of the end, how you're feeling towards the end of the program, and like, I guess kind of towards the last, I guess, how long has it been? Like 6 weeks, I think, since the end?
Yeah. So I'm like still using my tracker and like taking, measurements. So it's week 18. And so we ended at 12.
Yeah.
So it's been like 6 weeks. So I would say definitely the last 2 weeks were a little bit tough, but like I said before, that carb up day, and I think I may have even been doing 2 carb up days. I can't remember. But those I think were like what got me through the last 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Because I was like, the deficit that I was in, like my keto days, like it was a pretty low. I mean, I think I was only eating like 1,100 calories 5 days a week or whatever it was. But then to bump it back up to maintenance or above for like those 2 days, and then to have that kind of work itself out with the weekly deficit.
And just
helped.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Because we didn't give a little bit back. So the thing with calories, when we say calories out loud, some people are listening and they're like, oh my God, that's so low. But can you just tell us like do you mind telling us how much you weigh, so that people understand that like obviously the smaller you are, the less kind of calories and energy you need to sustain your body. So I just want to give people a visual if they aren't, watching on YouTube, they're listening.
Oh yeah, sure. So right now I'm like around 110 pounds. When I started the program, I was like 122-ish.
Okay. So I just wanted to give some context for calorie-wise, because, if you're 110 to 120 pounds, that's on like you are, very lean, right? You're a lean individual versus someone who might be, 150 pounds or 160 pounds listening to this and like, oh crap, I have to consume 1,100 calories. No, that's not what we're saying. We're talking about the individual, right? So I just wanted to clear that up, because I know some people listening, and if if I didn't know anything about this, I would be listening and be like, oh crap, like I need to eat 1,100 calories. That's not what we're saying. This is all individualized to Kristin for her goals and her body and all of that. So sorry, I just wanted to make sure.
No worries. But also, well, and me too. Like, I think if, prior to this program, if I heard someone be like, well, I, eat like 1,000 calories a day or whatever, without knowing that if you're doing a program and you're looking at the calories for the week, then I think that like helps to maybe help some of the listeners understand that, like, even though it was so low on those days, when you have your days at maintenance or above, it kind of evens itself out. You're still in a deficit, but you're getting the calories that you need for the week.
Yeah. So you were doing those refeed days.
Yeah. So
no, I needed to clear that. We needed to clear that up too, because it can be a little confusing, especially if, there's so many different things that are going on in the program. We can't just like go into every little thing. That's obviously what, going through the program, and that's the benefit of it. And educating yourself and learning about all these things. But yeah, calorie cycling is a big thing that a lot of people don't think about, because and I did this for so long too, before I really got into nutrition. It's like, I thought calories just reset overnight, right? I'm like, oh, well, they just reset overnight, right? And that's not how it works. And so that's where, when you say calorie cycling, it's like we have to look at calories kind of on a weekly basis, because then we can manipulate those to, really fit our goals, especially if you're someone who enjoys maybe going out on the weekends or something like that. Like, there are those refeed days, so maybe you can bump your calories up. And this is what a lot of my clients do, and this is what we incorporated in the program, was, maybe 5 days on a little bit of a lower calorie end, and then you would have like 2 days on the weekend where you would implement higher calories and a refeed, and it kind of made adherence a little bit easier. Would you say that, like, the adherence part of things?
Yeah, absolutely. And that combined with, the PSMF, especially in the beginning. Like, I think towards the end, maybe I didn't do the PSMF like the last 2 weeks, just because I was like not eating too much anyway. And then now that I'm in maintenance, I haven't done that. I haven't done a PSMF. I don't think I have since we ended the program. But one thing that I've noticed, and I think has kind of helped me stick to it, and not like gain the weight back, is that we gradually increased me to maintenance. So it was like every week we added whatever 200 calories, let's just say. And so now I've been at my maintenance for, I don't know, three weeks maybe. And like, I'm still like where I want to be, and I'm like, wow, this is so crazy, because like any other diet that I did in the past, like it was a diet. And I feel like this is like a way of life, this is not like I'm going on a diet. Like it's no, like this is me. This is like how I live my life. Like, I plan my food. I want to like have all these kind of these habits that like I just implement in whatever aspect, right? Like, so even if I'm going on a tangent, you can just, like,
go.
Tell me to stop.
Keep talking. I love it.
Like so you know what? I guess I'll talk a little bit about the MetFlex Tribe and how like, okay, so Keto For Women ended, and I was like, this is amazing. I don't want it to end. Like, I didn't want it to end. I was like very sad. But then, I found out about the MetFlex Tribe, and I was like, okay, cool. So it's like this really great way to like stay connected with you, and then also to stay connected with the women that went through the program like in round 2, but then also connect with the women from round 1. And it's just been a really cool community, of like-minded women, and we've all like gone through this transformation together, and we're all still learning together. And so I think the point I'm trying to get at was like the challenges, like how we still have challenges.
Yeah.
And I was going to the mindset challenge, how like, I think I don't know what week it was of Keto For Women, but the challenge was like, start a journal. And that actually started like right when I started working from home. So I was like, oh sweet, this will be my quarantine journal. And like, I'm still journaling, like every day I'm like, okay, I'm going to write in my journal and just kind of think about like, what's going to make today great, or whatever it is that I feel like writing. And it's just been a huge help. Like, it's another thing that I've been like, now it's just ingrained in me. It's just a habit. I'm like, I wake up in the morning, have my coffee, do my journal, take my walk, like just set myself up for like a good day. And yeah, so I really like that aspect of the community that like you've built around the program. So it's just been amazing. Like, it's so cool. And the recipe challenge was like so cool. Like, every weekend I've made something from the different recipes.
Yeah.
It's just been fun because I'm like, oh, I never thought of that. You know, like, it's just great. Like the Jello and cottage cheese or whatever it was that I made. Like, I make a bowl of that, and in the beginning my husband was like, what is that? That looks gross. And now he's eating it. Like, now he's making his own. So I'm like, yeah, you get it.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh, that makes me so happy. And the recipe book is actually should be done probably by the beginning of next week. So we'll have like the whole ebook with all the pictures and all that stuff. For people listening, we put together like a Hunger Hacks protein focused recipe book with, you know, all the MetFlex members. So I'm excited to share that with everyone. But yeah, I mean, everything you've been saying is just I can't stop smiling because it makes me so happy that I'm just, you know, like we're able to kind of come together as a group. And even with the MetFlex Tribe, that wasn't something that I had planned at all, because it was, you know, after the first round, most of the people or most of the women in that round were like, well, what do we do now? And I was like, I was like, all right, let's start this tribe so that we can continue. Cause and I think that's something too, like when you think about it, like a lot of people, you know, having that community, and then, you know, if it were to just stop, it's like, okay, well, I had this support group, and then you're exactly what you said. Like, what do I do now? Like, I still want to have this community. I still want the accountability. I still want to be, you know, it's just like being in a, you know, if you go to the gym or whatever, like you have your gym, if you just left your gym, you would, you know, not have any of those people that you might, you know, interact with. Or if it's, you know, I don't know, any type of like club or if you think back to like high school, any of the things that you were in, or extracurricular activities, like those are all part of, you know, your life. And just being in surrounded by a group of people who kind of understand exactly what you said, where you've been and gone through that transformation, and you're able to continue to bounce ideas off of, and then just having, you know, a coach and that accountability and stuff like that. For me, that was something that completely changed my life, just having that accountability factor as well. So I think that's something, like, if anybody's listening and they're just trying to do it all alone, it's like, you don't have to do it alone, and you will get so much better results if you get support. Like, you have to be willing to like put in the work yourself, right? So that's another thing that I like that you said. It's like you're taking away all these kind of educational tools from the program and things that you're learning. It's like, you know, you didn't go into this just looking for like a quick fix or like a, you know, give me a meal plan and I'll follow it, right? Like, I have a lot of people who come to me asking for those things, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to just give you a meal plan, because you're never going to learn how to sustain this and make it exactly what you said, like a lifestyle, and continue to build on these habits and make them things that are just normal, right? So it's not just a diet anymore. It turns into a sustainable lifestyle. So anyway, I can continue to ramble on. But so we're getting towards the end. I do have one last question. So for anybody listening, do you have any advice, like, for anyone who might, you know, maybe have been in or is currently in the position that you are in, maybe last year, you know, when you hit that 6-month point where you're like, oh crap, you know, things are not moving in the right direction anymore. Do you have any like advice or?
Yeah, definitely. I do. So definitely, you know, invest in yourself and get a coach, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Because I know, like, for me, like you were just talking about the accountability, like that, it's just like, this is something that I wouldn't have been able to do on my own or been able to stick to on my own, especially like given whatever's happening right in the world, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, but yeah, so I would say, like, just believe in yourself, and like that you can adhere to something and you can make a change. Like, if you're not happy with the way things are going, like, keep an open mind and try something different, because that was like just a huge takeaway for me, was like, okay, well, I'm going to A, eat more protein, B, track all this stuff. You know, have a coach that's like looking in my tracker and like watching all my biomarkers and all of these things. Right. And so that's been like huge. So I would just say, yeah, think about it. Think about working with Rachel, obviously. And yeah, do it.
I love it. I love it. Well, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate you and just everything that you've shared. And it just makes me so happy to kind of see, you know, your growth over just, you know, what has it been, like 4 or 5 months, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You've just like everything that you mentioned when we were talking, it's like there's so many different things that you've implemented and you're continuing to implement, and like all these new habits and things like that. Just like so exciting for me to know that like you were able to take away these different things that they're kind of helping in your life. So that just makes me super happy.
Yeah, totally.
So awesome. Well, thank you so much for, you know, spending the time. And I know this is going to help a lot of people just, you know, listening to your story and hearing your journey. And yeah, I'm excited to get it out there, and I'm excited to continue to do fun challenges in the MetFlex Tribe. And yeah, so thank you so much for being here. And do you have anything else you want to share or say or anything?
No, I mean, just again, like, just, I feel like women and anyone who's listening right now, just take this time to like do something positive for yourself. I mean, I think things are starting to change and starting to come around, I think, as far as the virus goes. I don't know actually. So anyway, but just take this time. If like like my gym just opened, but it's got weird, it's a weird schedule, right? You have to like make an appointment. So whatever. So take this time to find something or try something new, and or take an online class, whatever. Like just find something positive, like amidst all this craziness, right? And also, I'm just going to keep going because I didn't get to talk about so when I joined Keto For Women, I started doing Level Up, right? The Level Up program. And so I was all gung ho. I was so excited. And then like a month into it, the gym closed and I was like, oh my God, like, what am I going to do? So it was really awesome that you provided all of us with, I think it was the other program, the band workout program. Yeah, the Kickstart. And then like, I also have some weights at home, and we bought a squat rack. It took like, I don't know, 2.5 months to get here, but eventually like it arrived. So I've been able to like do that program and continue to do the program despite like all this stuff. And so that for me was like doing something new. I was like, I never thought that I'd be able to do my workouts at home and continue to build muscle at home. Like I thought like there just was no way I was going to be able to do that. But because I had the program and I had guidance, I was able to do that. So that was really cool.
Awesome.
I don't know if that answers like the last question, but yeah.
No, it does. 100%. I love it. I love it. All right. Thank you so much for being here, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Rachel.
See ya.
Bye.